Hi guys, welcome back to TOEFL with Juva. If you want a high score in TOEFL listening, you must take good notes. And taking good notes for lectures can be really difficult because lectures are often long and complex. I show you how you should take notes for lectures so that you can answer the questions correctly. By the way, if you want to get more tips for the TOEFL and download templates, subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss the next video. Let's get started. What you first need to know is that all lectures have the same basic structure. Each lecture has an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. However, there are different types of lectures, and this is reflected in the body paragraph of the lectures. So this means that the bodies of the lectures are different. It's important that your notes reflect the overall structure of the lecture and the structure of the body paragraph, because this will make it a lot easier for you to answer the questions correctly. In the following, I'm going to show you two different types of lectures, and I'm going to tell you how you should take notes if you get such a lecture in TOEFL listening. Let's start with lecture type number 1, the theories lecture. In this type of lecture, the professor presents several theories that explain something. For example, he may present several theories about the extinction of dinosaurs. This means that each theory presents a unique explanation why dinosaurs became extinct. Usually, such lectures go like this. First, the professor states the name of the theory that he is going to talk about in the following. It's really important that you write this down, because in the following you need to take notes on this theory, so what this theory is about. If you have written down the name of the theory, all the information regarding this theory goes under this heading. After having stated the name of the theory, the professor usually explains what the theory says. So, for example, if it's a theory about the extinction of dinosaurs, the professor will talk about the reasons that this theory provides for why dinosaurs became extinct. So, while you're listening to this explanation, you write down a few keywords regarding this explanation under your heading. After that, the professor usually states arguments for and or against this theory. Remember that this lecture is about several theories, and this means that these theories are competing. They present competing viewpoints on a specific topic. And so, of course, there are arguments for and against each theory. And if the professor talks about that, it's really important that you write this down, because it's very likely that you will get questions about that. I'd recommend writing down a plus for arguments in favor of the theory and a minus for arguments against this theory. If you use such symbols, you don't waste time taking notes, because it doesn't take a lot of time to write down a plus and a minus. After the professor has talked about the first theory, she will go on and talk about the second theory. And it's very likely that she will use the same structure as in the first theory. So if the professor, when talking about the first theory, first explained the theory and then provided arguments for and against this theory, it's very likely that she will use the same structure when talking about the second theory. And it's very important that you are aware of that, because this puts you at an advantage, because you will know how the lecture will progress. And if the professor uses the same structure, you will take notes in the same way as you did for the first theory. The professor will go on like that until she has presented all the theories she wanted to talk about. If the professor talks about several theories, it's likely that she will draw a conclusion in the end about which theory prevails. She may state this at the end of the lecture, but it's also possible that she talks about that when talking about the relevant theory. So always keep in mind that you need to listen for which theory is dominant. Why should you take notes in this way? These are the key points of the lecture. You may get a question asking you about an explanation a theory offers, or you may get a question about arguments in favor of a theory or arguments against a theory. If you get such a question, you just need to have a quick glance at your notes. Always remember that when you answer the questions for TOEFL listening, you are under time pressure. You don't have the time to search for the information in your notes. You must see the relevant information that you need in order to answer the questions correctly immediately. And this structure will help you to do that. Let's go on with lecture type number 2. The one topic lecture. In this type of lecture, the professor talks about a specific topic. For example, if you listen to a science lecture, this may be a disease, or the lecture may be about one specific theory. As I said before, each lecture has the same overall structure. So in this lecture type, there will also be an introduction, a body and a conclusion. But the body here will look differently compared to the theories lecture. If the professor talks about one topic, she will structure her lecture in a specific way. So she will divide the lecture, the body paragraph of the lecture, into several parts. And it's crucial that you listen actively for this structure, because this structure determines how you should take notes. For example, imagine that the professor talks about a disease. So she may talk about the causes of the disease, the consequences if somebody has this disease, and how this disease can be cured. These are the key points of the lecture, and it's essential that you reflect these key points in your notes. Or let's imagine that the professor talks about one specific theory. For example, she may explain this theory. She may also talk about the history of the theory, so how this theory evolved. And she might talk about the reactions of scientists to this theory. So if you have a look at these two examples, you can clearly see that this type of lecture is structured in a specific way. When you start listening to a lecture in TOEFL listening and you realize, okay, this lecture is about one specific topic, you must listen for this structure. And this means that whenever you realize that during the lecture the professor talks about a new point, you have to write this down. So for example, if the professor says, okay, now I'm going to talk about the causes of something, then you write down causes and you put all the causes underneath. And if you realize, okay, now the professor talks about the consequences of something, you write down the word consequences and you write down the actual consequences that the professor is talking about. Whenever you realize that the professor starts to talk about a new point in his lecture, you leave a blank line to the former point so that there is a clear division between these points, because this will make it a lot easier for you to recognize the structure and to remember it when you're answering the questions. That's it. This is how you take notes for lectures in TOEFL listening. I hope this video was helpful to you guys. If it was, please hit the like button so that I know. And if you want to know how to take notes for conversations in TOEFL listening, have a look at my video about that. You can find the link in the description below. And if you want to get more tips for the TOEFL and download templates, hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss the next video. I love to see you here next time. Bye bye!